Jeff St Laurent with our Tuesday call, consistently going at this every single week, and I want to always be that role model for everybody as I help coaches transition to a full-time business. It's such a passion of mine because I've been doing it since 2004, and I've just realized, there's coming from a place myself of loving coaching, and prior to that being in the fitness industry, because fitness transformed my life. Prior to that, I did, personal training and fitness for a while, and then, transitioned into coaching, and then I've been doing that full time, for 12 years. And there's so many coaches out there who are just so passionate about coaching, and because, really it's what it's done for them in their lives and how it's, changed their perspective and shifted things around. And it's like now they want to, go ahead and give back and turn it into others. And, our biggest challenge with that, like anything is, when we're great at something, let's say like coaching, or we want to be great at it, we want to give back to it, but then how do we turn that into a business? How do we turn that into an income source that provides for our families? And it's, for a lot of people, that's a tough transition because most people are employees, and that's where they've been their whole lives. And I've always talked about the differences between entrepreneurship and employees, and there is a big difference. There's a big difference in a mindset piece. And it all goes back to, I'll say a lot, is that consistency over time. And a lot of it comes down to, we talked with a few people, before we get started with the call today, and it's getting out of our own ways, and a lot of those limiting beliefs and those blocks that we have. And it's like we talk ourselves out, we psych ourselves out, and we set this wall up of perfection that's so big and so tall. It almost seems insurmountable, so we end up doing nothing, when in fact really that wall of perfection just almost is there to protect us from having to put ourselves out there, because we don't know. And this all ties back into selling, and that's what the topic of today is becoming more comfortable with selling coaching. That's the name of my business, Selling Coaching, and I named it that for a reason, because while I help coaches transition to a full-time business, everything I always do is I relate it back to that selling aspect, because that's been the number one skill set that I found that I can always lean back on, that allows me to stay consistent with entrepreneurship, meaning it allows me to earn an income in my business, to provide for myself and for my family, and have more than enough. I want to teach you to have more than enough. I was used to be able to I just, I gotta, pay my mortgage, and I gotta pay the car, and I gotta pay this or pay that and pay the bills. But that was it. I just had enough. And while it's okay, it's great to have enough, but it's even better to have more than enough, because when you have more than enough, you can do things you want to do, and even bigger than that, you can start to give back in different ways. And having more than enough financially, having more than enough emotionally, and physically strong, you can give back, and you can be more and become more, not just for yourself, but you have more for others as well, and that's how you can build a community. And that's what I want to teach you how to do. So just so you know, everything is recorded today, as always. And if you've missed some of these calls, I know some of you are just coming in as well. You can go check out my website where I put all the recordings, sellingcoaching.com. That's my website. And if you go under the university, under the Tuesday calls, you can check out, I have a lot of great calls there for you to get started. And you just use the search button if you type in some keywords, like if you're looking for your niche or objections or things like that, check that out. Also, I know a lot of you are there already, but if you haven't checked out my private Facebook group, I would definitely scroll right to my website again, sellingcoaching.com. Right at the very top, you'll see a tab there. Click that, brings you right over to the group. We got some really cool things going on in there, and I always talk about that visibility challenge. It's an ongoing piece where I challenge coaches to create 30 videos over 91 days, and becoming comfortable with their message and speaking it, and providing an environment like the private group where everyone's supportive, everyone else is in the same position as you are, of maybe they've done some videos, maybe they haven't done some, but the people that have gone through the 30 videos, and some of them are always continuing on, just the evolution of them and their message and what they speak about and their comfortability, it's just so vital for us as coaches. And I go back to that Selling Coaching University that I referenced, where all my recorded calls are. I also have a lot of other videos. I do all my education pretty much video based, and that's because I realize the importance of speaking our message, and people allowing them to get to know who we are and our energy and our voice and our personality and what we value. especially in a virtual world like online. It's so vital, having calls like this that you can call into or at least listen to the recording. That's why I spend, a good 10, 12 minutes in the beginning of the call, getting to know some people, and especially the people I've never heard before or spoken with I want to know who you are. I talk about building an audience a lot as our number one objective within what we do as a coach, and that's really our business. It's not just oh, we're looking for clients. We're not looking for clients. It's like we're looking to build a community, and that's really what our job is building that audience, building that community, and getting to know people. And when you build a big enough community, you're gonna naturally get clients from that process. It's inevitable. It's inevitable that people are gonna hear your message and like what you do, and they will stick around. And when the timing is right, as long as you're consistent in being in front of those people, there's a natural evolution where, it's like, oh, I want to work with Jeff now. I'm ready for this. Or I need somebody. And you're in front of them. And then there's that natural evolution for them to hiring you. And so that in of itself, when we talk about, the sales process and becoming comfortable with selling, that's what I want you to understand is that if you can focus on building that community and that interaction and doing that consistently over time, there's a piece of that natural evolution, and that's what I found more and more in doing with the community is there is a natural interaction, and it's a lot more comfortable interaction because people get to know you, even if you don't really know who they are just yet, because they're in the background. There's a lot of people in the online world, for instance, like in the selling coaching group, and just even on your email database. I call it's a lonely world of entrepreneurship, meaning, you'll be posting things and you're putting things out there, and it's nice to get validation and feedback and, responses and comments and likes and all the other, social media little things, actions that they can do, in reacting to what you're putting out there. But the reality is that there's not as much as we would want or hope or even expect sometimes. And it's nice when we get anything, but we have to realize that there's a lot of people out there who are in the background, who are they're kind of just watching from a distance, or they'll consume it when they're ready. And so that's why I keep encouraging you to be putting that stuff out there, and just be sharing some things. I created a video earlier this morning. Like I woke up and I just didn't sleep well last night. I had a headache in the morning, and it's like the sun was coming through my blinds, and I just woke up on the wrong side of the bed, just in a really bad mood. Went for my workout and came back, and it's like I couldn't shake it. And I took a shower, and I just sat down, and I breathed, and I just started asking myself some questions. I'm like, okay, where's this coming from? And I coached myself, and I put some things in perspective, and it got me through to the place where I was like, okay, there's nothing really wrong, and I'm okay. And I was able to move forward. And it's those pieces that I'm asking you to start looking at, to coach yourself. If we're so passionate about coaching, it's like we've got to be able to apply it to ourselves, because that's going to allow us to get out there, create some content, and put it out there, and doing that consistently. And so sometimes in other words, my message to that is sometimes when you don't have or don't know what to say, like this morning, I just said, I'm like, oh, I worked through this, and I'm like, this is a great message, and I just got the camera out and shot a quick video, and I'll post that out, later today. But that's the point of that is we've got to be consistent with that and coaching ourselves into that mindset. So that kind of leads us all into, this topic of becoming comfortable with selling coaching. And the word selling in and of itself is something where I just feel people are just so, when you say the word selling, they just have that bad connotation with it, or associations with it. And it just comes from, poor experiences, or maybe even not even poor experiences, but just hearing things about it, and not wanting to be pressure people into things or force people into things. And we always have like the used car salesman, so to speak, the poor used car salesman. I mean, I don't know what happened to those guys or those girls, right? That get the bad rap. But if we look at this, I want to just break it down a little bit for you, because when I started really understanding selling, it shifted my perspective, because I was uncomfortable with it, starting off, and I came from a world of personal training where all I was doing was selling. Right? I was selling personal training packages all the time, but I didn't even realize that. And even coming into coaching, but I was afraid of it, and I didn't want to be pushy and things like that. But one thing I want you to realize is that, and this might not sound too cool, but you've got to hear this, is that as a coach, as a full-time coach or a part-time coach, wherever you're at with your coaching business, essentially what you are is a full-time salesperson. Because if you don't create any sales, meaning if you don't sell your coaching services, if you don't sell a course that you've done or a book that you write or a seminar that you're charging for or whatever, any of your products, if you don't sell that to anybody, you're not in business, right? And you're not creating any income. And you're working on strict commission, right? I mean, granted, you get 100% of the commission, other than what you have to pay for taxes and overhead in your business, but that's it. You're not getting paid a salary to just do what you do, and then if you get a client, you get a bonus, right? It's like you're a 100% commission-only sales rep, if you just want to put it differently. And if that scares you a little bit, or you don't even like the sounds of that, that's really the reality of your business. And the reason I'm saying that is even more so for effect of saying that, well, if you were a full-time salesperson, and if those of you know people or have been in a position where you were 100% commission with a sales job, selling, it doesn't matter what, you know that, well, if you're gonna do that, you better start understanding sales. You better start understanding selling, and how it works and the process of it. And what I want to do is I want to make it more of an art for you. I want to make it more fun and more engaging, and realize that when it happens, it's effortless, and it's a two-way street. It's a relationship, and it just flows, and it's actually fun. And the end result of it is both people get what they want. You get what you want. Number one, you get to help somebody and coach them and do what you absolutely love to do. And you also get paid for it, like, boo, big bonus there. It's like, wow, there's no better thing in the world, right, than getting paid for what you're passionate about. And then on the other end is this person now has hope. They have light. They have someone on their side. They've got this person that they can talk to, that now they can start feeling like they're moving forward in their world by investing and hiring someone like yourself. So it's a really great marriage of two things. That's what we're selling, right? We're selling hope, we're selling light, we're selling an opportunity for somebody, a partnership, a relationship. That's what I want you to start to realize. And you have to remember, when it comes down to selling things, people do not buy something that they do not want. They do not buy something they don't want. When they are in need of something and they want something, they go after it. And I want you to just think about yourself for a minute. So this is where we start to break down selling a little bit and just start to get an interesting perspective on it. So, and there's lots of different examples, but if you need something, all right, you need a TV, for instance, right? And it's like, and I want to take a product that's completely different from coaching, right? You need a TV, and it's like, okay, well, how bad do you need a TV? Do you need it today? It's, maybe the Olympics are on, let's just say, and they're over now, but the Olympics are on, and it's like, our TV is like just crap, and it's not working, or it's not consistent. We want to watch this. So you need it now. So what do? You go out and you whatever your buying process is, you go online, you go to Best Buy, you go to wherever it is, and you look for a TV, and you do whatever research you need to do when you buy a TV. But the thing is that when the need is there, meaning, okay, our TV's on the fritz or broken, and the need is we want to watch it, not just anytime, but especially now because, let's say, the Olympics are on. The timing is there because my need is big, and the timing is now because they're on now, and I don't want to miss this. That's when I go out and buy, because there's value. And everyone has a certain price range, but we all know, and we've all been in a certain spot, is like, okay, let's say you're looking for a TV, and you're like, okay, I'm going to spend $1,000 on a TV. And you go out there, and then you start looking, and then all of a sudden there's one, and it's $1,200 or it's $1,400, and so it's more than what you wanted to spend, or let's say you could spend, in your head, or planned on spending. But oh my God, this one's beautiful, or like, it's a little bit bigger, and it's the clarity, or blah blah blah. Bottom line is you end up buying it because the value's there. And when you walk into the Best Buy store, etc., and the person says, can I help you, or what are you looking for, or whatever they say to you, it's like, yeah, and you have a conversation with them, and you ask them questions, and if it feels right, you end up buying it. And it does, and there's a certain point where the cost, it matters to a certain point, but you're looking within a certain price range, and if you have to spend a little bit more, you do. But the point is I'm trying to relate it to something different. Is you, when that happens, you're eager and you're wanting and you're open. However, if you're not looking for a TV, for instance, and let's just say for whatever reason, let's just do an example. You're walking down the mall and you happen to walk by a TV store, for instance, and there's someone out in front of the TV store, an employee, and they go up to you and say, hey, listen, we've got some great sales on some TVs today. Can I interest you in coming in and taking a closer look? And the last thing in the world you need is a TV. How are you going to feel? Right? You're going to be like, yeah, no, thank you. And you're going to do everything you can to like get out of that conversation without like being mean or rude or whatever to that person, right? And so in that situation, the greatest example is that you don't need it. There's no need, there's no timing, yet there's someone saying, hey, do you want to take a look at this? We've got something going on. That's when it becomes pushy and uncomfortable for somebody. So barring those two examples, if we go back now to what we're doing is that, especially coaching, coaching is a very ambiguous and a very just, there's no value in it for people until they really start to understand what it is. And most people will never understand what it is until they start to experience you. That's why I'm a big advocate of getting your message out there in any form, but especially like in my Selling Coaching Facebook group with that visibility challenge of creating videos. And start creating some education, start putting yourself out there. Just like I'm doing on this call right now, and I do in these calls every week, is I put some education out there and I speak my passion and my message and I teach things. And I try and put out some really good, valuable things out there that people can benefit from, whether they hire me or end up working with me or not. Because I know if I keep continuing to do that, they're going to start to see value in what I can offer. That's why I keep asking you all to start doing that on a consistent basis. And so when you start doing that is people start to see where you are and what you have to offer and how you can help them. You don't know how you can help them. Everybody, for instance, even on this call is in a slightly different spot in their coaching business. And some people are starting off. Some people have been doing it for a while. Some people have already quit their jobs. Some people are still maybe in a coaching school. So it's like they're all at different phases. So you never know how, for instance, this information is going to help them today. You're going to walk away with something different and benefit with something different. But what happens is you're helping that person. And when you help that person, it goes back down to where their needs are and where their timing is. We can't know that for everybody, but that's why we continually do this. And as you start delivering value for people and as you start interacting with those people, there's going to be certain times where when you create conversations with them, where you can start to see things that they talk about and what they're going through in their world, in their business, and so forth and so on. And of course, everyone opens up with different levels of depth, so to speak, in terms of how much they'll share with you, how much they'll communicate with you. But that's what we're looking to do. We're trying to just, like I said, build a community, build those relationships. And what we're essentially looking for is, does this person I'm connecting with have some sort of a need right now that I could assist them with, let's just say, my products or services. And again, we're starting off, we just basically have, our coaching as a service, right? So, does this person have a need where, I might be able to help them? And if they have that, let's explore that a little bit. And it's like, tell me a little bit more about that. Or it sounds like you're looking to, transition become a coach, or maybe quit your job, or you're looking to do X, Y, and Z. Tell me more about that. Where are you at on that? How serious are you about that? This is coaching, isn't it? The thing I love about selling and actually coaching is the skill sets of asking and listening, as we learn as a coach, are two of the biggest skill sets that go right into the great art of selling as well. So we ask questions and we find out more about where they are. And the biggest thing is we don't have an agenda in terms of, I'm trying to sell someone a coaching package. I'm trying to get them to hire me as a coach. I want you to back off that agenda. Of course, we'd like them to, but why would we want them to hire us if there's no need, right? We wouldn't, would we? Just like why would we buy a TV if there's no need? We wouldn't, right? Nor would we'd be interested. So in order for us now on the flip side, as if you will, the salesperson, we've got to, instead of just going out into the mall and just talking to random people and saying, hey, you want to come in and check out this, we got this awesome sale on coaching today, and they're like, what the hell is coaching, right? What we're doing is we're looking to just strike up conversations with people. And let's get out of the mall example for a minute, but when it comes like online or live events or things that we're doing out there, or people that do react or like or comment on some things that we're putting out there, or people that do come onto our email database, et cetera, that we run into online and that are consuming our information that we're putting out there, is we strike up conversations with them. That's what we're doing. And instead of just jumping right out, and we wouldn't just jump right out and say, hey, I saw you liked my video. Do you want to hire me as a coach? Right? That's awkward. That's weird. That's uncomfortable. But what we're doing is we're just talking to them and getting to know them a little bit and finding out more about where they're at. And if we do find something where, metaphorically speaking, their TV's broken, or there might be in the market for a new one. In other words, right? I think you get where I'm going. It's, they might see value in working with someone like ourselves, and they could. We see how we might be able to start to help them. That's when we start, learning a little bit more about that, and then from there going for the timing of it and finding out, hey, the TV might be broken, but maybe they just don't care. Like, in other words, the Olympics aren't on, there's nothing on, it's summertime, it's like, and we're not even watching TV because we're outside all the time, so even though it's broken or not working well, it's like, you know what, screw it, let's just wait till the holidays come when there's sales or whatever, and we'll address it then, right? So they have a need, but the timing isn't now. And so what we're doing is if there is someone that we're talking with, and we're finding out, and we find that they do have a need and they are struggling with something that we feel we could help them with through our coaching, then the next piece is like finding out, well, how serious are you about doing that? And like, why right now? Why now versus, tomorrow or yesterday? Why is now the right time for you? And how serious are you about that? How badly do you want that? Because when even yourself, when you want something and you want it really badly, and even if there's, huge seemingly insurmountable obstacles in front of you, whether they're emotional, physical, or financial obstacles, if you want something and you want something bad enough and you need it right now, you're going to at least pursue aggressively or really push to find a way to make it happen. And that's where people are. They will make it happen if they really want it bad enough. And now it's just our matter of just finding out, just through casual conversation, where that's at and why now. That's the timing and the need. And that's why I go back to that TV example. We can have a need, but if the timing's not right, they're not going to buy. Same thing here. And so when we think about that, whenever what makes people feel pushed or uncomfortable is when you're not listening or honoring where they're at. This is a big piece right here. So in other words, that person who comes out in the mall and says, hey, why don't you come in here and check it out? It's like, well, you don't even know me. Why are you even asking me this? I'm not wearing a sign that says I need a TV. So why are you even asking me this? So if we start going down an avenue of pushing and talking about coaching too much, and that's when it starts to make people feel uncomfortable. So in other words, sometimes maybe you're at a networking event and maybe you're talking with somebody about coaching and maybe they ask a little bit about it. It's so exciting for us when someone asks us about coaching or asks us, what do we do? And tell me a little bit more about that. And we kind of go off on this and we start to talk and we start to verbally throw up, so to speak, because we're so passionate about it. And oftentimes that can lead to us leading someone else down a path of maybe like saying, well, yeah, would you want to do a complimentary session? Or, what would you think about, would you want to do some coaching? Or, do you know anyone that wants to do any coaching? But what happens is we're pushing down an avenue where they may or may not want to go, because maybe they've asked us just out of courtesy, out to be polite, or maybe they were a little bit curious, but not necessarily interested themselves. So it's a matter in conversations is, even if someone asks you about your coaching, it says, I'd love to tell you more about coaching. I'm curious, why do you ask? And, and it's transitioning it back to them and allowing that person to talk more. And so tell me, I'd love to tell you more about coaching. So in order for me to do that, just tell me a little bit more about where are you at in your life? Or tell me what's going on in your life or your business. You can start coaching them a little bit, right? But the point is to turn around and find out where they're coming from. And as you start interacting with these people, in order to not be pushy, just always find out where they're at. And the biggest thing about it is you always want to, when I work with my one-on-one mentoring clients, and a lot of what I do there and in my group mentoring program as well, is as I go through, like with my clients, I'll go through when they're interacting with somebody, I'll say, well, send me the email thread. Send me, where's the conversation at? And whether we do this via, the email or live on a call, for instance, I'll go through with them and I'll give them some different responses. And a lot of what I tell people in terms of responses is always just find out where they're at. And then if you find the need and you find the timing is good, you can make a transition. And this is the biggest thing for us is at some point, if we find a need and we know where the timing of that need is, we've got to create what I call a transition into kind of broaching the topic about, hey, I'm curious, would you ever consider, working with someone like myself as a coach? Or have you ever considered hiring someone as a coach to help you through this? And the way I approach that is I always approach on a need. In other words, I always approach someone about potentially hiring me or working with me on a need that I've kind of uncovered. So if I were talking with you and we were just going back and forth conversation via phone, via text, email, whatever it is, and I were to find out, let's say you're a new coach and you're starting off, and I say, hey, tell me a little bit more about your business and where you're at. And you're like, well, I'm trying to get a website going, but I don't really know what to do there. And I'm struggling with my niche. It's like I come up with something and then I start it and then I have a million other ideas and I go off, blah, 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 blah. And then I just loop back around and I never get started. And I go, wow, it sounds like you're frustrated with that. And I can understand that. Well, how serious are you about moving your coaching business forward? Or how serious do you want to do this right now? Oh my God, I'm super serious about this and I've never wanted it more. And I might be like, well, why now? Why is now the right time for you to be doing this? And like, oh, because, I sent my 2-month notice in, or, I hate my job, or whatever the reason is. Now I find this spot, right, in this conversation, this imaginary conversation, which is real because this is the way it happens, right? So now I find this spot where I'm like, okay, wow, this person, really wants to do this coaching business. They're obviously frustrated. They're going in circles. They need help, deciding on a niche. They need help with things like their website and, finding out a few pieces and taking out a lot of the guesswork. They need some mentoring. They need some guidance. And I know and I have confidence that I could help this person based on what I'm seeing and hearing. So this is the point where I call it a transition, right? But I always approach it now based on what I'm hearing. So the difference is, instead of just saying, hey, do you want to buy a TV? It's like, hey, I've heard now. The difference would be as if I was in the mall and the salesperson, and you were talking to a friend out in front of the store, and the salesperson could overhear you saying, oh my God, my TV's broken. I so badly need a TV. Now it would make sense for the salesperson to come up and say, hey, I couldn't help but overhearing you say, your TV's broken and you so badly need one. I'm sorry about that. That must be frustrating. And, I don't know if there's any interest to you or not, but I happen to be working at this store and we've got a great sale on TVs. And I just, based on what I heard you say, I couldn't help but just want to invite you into the store to see if you wanted to take a look. Do you see the difference in that approach? Now, all of a sudden, and even the language I used to it, I said, I couldn't help but overhearing, and I don't know if it's any interest to you or not, but we just happen to have, a sale on TVs going on over here, and I would love for you to come in if you're open to it, or if you want to. Just, it's so much different. Now, the person still may not want to go in. You might not want to go in right then and there, but there's a reason why this person approached, and based on that approach, I can't see why you'd feel uncomfortable. It's like, they overheard you, but maybe you were talking loudly anyways, et cetera, and the way they said, I couldn't help but overhear you. So it's a very soft, casual approach, but now the invitation is based on a need. Of course, we don't know the timing of the need, but we're saying, hey, I don't know what the timing's like for you or really where you're at, but I couldn't help you hear you say this. We happen to be right here, so I just hey, I just said, hey, I wanted to invite you, and that's all. So it's very hands-off. It's very just, hey, I heard you say this. And that's the way we kind of want to approach it. So in this situation now, back to the conversation that I was talking about where I'm talking to this coach, and I found out this need, and they were frustrated and didn't know their niche. Now I'd approach it. But instead of saying like, hey, do you want to hire me as your coach, etc., is I would base it on my invitation to, potentially hire me, or would you consider this? I would base it on the fact that they're going through this, and then say, hey, you know what? And these are the phrases I use. Is I would say, hey, I can't help but know, see that you're really wanting this badly, but you're struggling, and I'm just curious, would you ever consider hiring me as your mentor coach? Would you ever consider working with someone like myself to help you through this? Again, it sounds like the timing is right for now, but I don't know if this is something you'd even be interested in, but I couldn't help but ask because this is what I do and I know I can assist you. So you see those words, right? So this is the approach where it's open and it's welcome and it's based on what I'm hearing, and I'm making it very casual. I'm giving the person the exit door, so to speak, to say, hey, listen, I don't know if this is something you're interested in or not, but based on what I'm hearing, you say, I can't help but ask, would you consider this? And you might even say, sometimes I'll say, maybe I don't know what the timing is yet, or maybe I couldn't really get to it yet. I might say, well, I don't know if the timing's right for you right now, or it seems on what you're saying, you got a lot of things going on right now, so the timing might not be right for something like this. But based on what you're saying, I couldn't help but ask because I know I can assist you, or I know I could help you with that. I'm curious what your thoughts are. And I just open it up like this. And this is the sales conversation that I want to start to teach you, is that you're broaching it on a need that you've uncovered, and hopefully maybe find out a little bit more about the timing. And when you do it like that and you start to use the language that I'm talking about here, it's very comfortable. It's very easy. Literally, I do this on a daily basis, several times a day, if not just once a day, through the interactions that I have with people online. Maybe it's through these calls, it's through stuff I'm doing online and people in my group. And it's not like I'm going out there trying to sell people, my group mentoring program or hiring me one-on-one as a mentor coach. It's like, no, whether someone hires me or not, it's okay, right? I'm finding, who are these people and how can I help them, whether it's for free or whether it's for whether they hire me. Like when we called into the call today and someone said, something about where they were at, I refer them to one of my calls that I have. It wasn't like, oh, hey, you know what, you should email me after and hire me and work with me. It was like, well, check out one of these calls, and go from there. And then I can always follow up with that person afterwards and say, hey, listen, I know you were asking about X, Y, and Z, and you can bet I'll actually do that, right? So, and I noticed you were talking about this on the call, and tell me more about that. And I'm just approaching that not because like, oh, I want this person to hire me, but because I see a need that this person has, and I don't want this need to go unattended to. And whether it's something I can refer the person to, I can give to the person, maybe it just might be a few different words or a direction, or maybe it ends up going down, a path where they hire me or not. I don't know. But that's what I want you to do, is I want you to explore those options. But explore under just very open, helping type of terms. And that's where it becomes comfortable. That's where it becomes easy. But what I want you to do is, I want you to get to the place where you start to transition to that approach or that invitation where you're asking them, or would they consider working with you? But we don't go there unless we find a need. And if we can't quite get to the hardcore need of it or the timing of it there, it's just get to a spot where you can just stay in touch. Make sure that they're on your email list. Make sure they're in your group or whatever type of lead capture you have where you stay in front of your people. Everyone should have email, and then maybe some type of a social group type of thing, like a Facebook group, or at least a Facebook page or some social platform where there's interaction and community. But interact with them, so you can stay in front of them. But that's where the sales conversation becomes a lot easier and a lot more comfortable, and that's where I want you to get to. But hopefully, if you can kind of go back to some of the things I talked about and relating it to just the TV, and it's like, think about it on both ends, and given those situations, it's only uncomfortable, it's only unwanted, it's only the person feels like comfortable when you are going down a path that they're not interested in or that they don't want. But if they want something, they're open. They're open to listening. They're open to hearing. But don't assume that. We never want to assume that. If they want to hear more about coaching, we want to ask them. Even if someone says, how much does it cost to hire you? Or what are your prices for coaching? Or tell me more about coaching. The reason why I just don't answer those questions is because I want to find out, why are they asking? Why do you want to know the prices? Typically when someone asks the price, they're interested in buying. When do you ask for the price of a TV? Just because you want to know? No, it means that you're at some point in that buying cycle, meaning I'm thinking about it, I'm curious about it, or I know it needs to happen soon, or it needs to happen sooner than later because we need to watch the Olympics. Either way, you're in some phase of that buying cycle. You don't just wake up in the morning and go, I wonder what it costs for a 55-inch, 4K TV. You don't do that unless you're in some phase of that buying cycle. So all our job is to find out, where are they in that phase? And if they're very early in that phase, there's no approach. They're not going to be interested, It's just helping them however they want to help, answer some questions and carry on, and let's stay in touch. But if they're towards the end of that buying phase, meaning the need is really big and the timing is like more than ever right now, that's when, if we get that urgency, that's when we want to create that approach and that transition. So it's just taking deep breaths and recognizing when people want something, they're curious about it. And what makes it a lot easier is when people they know who you are and they start to consume your information. That's why, again, relating back to midway through the call when I talked about putting education things out there like videos and posts and calls like this. It allows people to really get to know who you are, whether they're interacting or, more than likely, like I said, behind the scenes. They start to really get to know your pacing, your energy, and your tone and your value, and what you can offer and what you value. So this way, they'll know you more than you even know. And I'll tell you, those people that I start to interact with that have already heard some of my information, that kind of know who I am, so to speak, through any one of my things that I put out there, the conversation is much easier because they already see the value in working with me or even hiring me. It's just where the timing is. And I can't tell you how many times people have said, hey, Jeff, gosh, when the timing's right, I'd love to hire you. I'd love to work with you. It's just right now, blah, 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 blah. And I didn't even say anything to them. I never even asked them to hire me. It's just through regular conversation. And that just tells me is that, through what they're, consuming of my information, they see a lot of value, or they could see a lot of value. They could see how they would benefit greatly from, working with myself. And that's what will happen with you is they'll see that. And now it's just a matter of, for you, is just create conversations. Literally what I do all day outside of a call like this or a client call in my work hours is I create conversations online with people, not just random people, obviously, but with people in my group and on email and people that are on these calls. And I just kind of see who's out there and what's going on. And hey, welcome to the group. How did you find out about us? And where are you at in your world? Tell me about your business. And I just create casual conversations. And inevitably, there's a certain small percentage of those conversations that lead towards, more in-depth conversations, and ultimately lead towards someone hiring me. I don't know who it is. It doesn't matter. It's just, I don't put any pressure on it. And that's what I do. And that's what I want you to start doing is put some information out there, start interacting with some people, and see where it goes. And when you do that enough, it's going to lead down towards this natural path. But again, the natural path comes when you start identifying that, becoming aware, relaxed conversations, and then creating that transition or that approach based upon what you're hearing through that conversation. And what I found is, and the last thing before I open the call up is when you approach on that, 0 times out of many do people ever get turned off or pushed away or upset or they just fall off the face of the earth. When you do it like that, they always, even if they're not interested, they tell you, they're like, no, you know what, now's not a really good time, or like, oh, thank you so much for asking. It's very pleasant. There's a back and forth. Whereas typically, if it's not a good thing, people just they'll walk away. They'll they'll disappear afterwards. So just take this approach like this, and it will allow you to just feel a lot more relaxed about it. But the best thing is to do is just keep practicing as you go along.